Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest AdaptiBar webinar. My name is Jacob Rooney, and I'm on the marketing team here at AdaptiBar, and today we'll be focused on your July 2021 bar exam prep. Your goal as a viewer should be to improve your bar prep approach with any tips or tricks that Jonathan provides, and we hope there will be something helpful here for everybody, regardless of repeat or first-time takers. We're here to help you. Here to present his expertise is AdaptiBar video lecturer and MBE expert, Jonathan Grossman.
Thanks, Jacob. It's great to be with you guys today. I know a lot of you guys out there may have lost a little bit of your mojo from when bar prep originally began. Everyone's all pumped up at the beginning of bar prep, and now kind of towards the middle, you hit the wall and lose a little bit of that adrenaline rush has kind of calmed down. So today in our AdaptiBar brand, we're going to keep it concise. We're going to keep it practical. We're hopefully going to rebuild some confidence and give you some tips and some guidance on how to kind of repair where the first half of bar prep went so far, get you a little more focused right now so we can set you up for the second half and do that much better on those questions. So hang in there, we'll have some fun and hopefully learn a lot.
Thank you, Jonathan, and I'll pass it back off to you to kick it off.
So where are we at? We're going to talk a little bit first about where we're kind of at, both in terms of substance and doing practice questions, and then where hopefully we should be in the second half of bar prep. So where are we at so far? You're tired, you're glazed out, you're a little pissed off, you're kind of just doing a lot of stuff for the sake of doing things, you're checking all the boxes, you're focusing maybe a little too much on being obedient. Let me do all the assignments, let me do my questions for the day. I did my reading, my watching, etc. But you're bleary-eyed. You know you're doing a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you're exhausted, but you're still in the 50 percentile. Some days you're in the 60s, but then you jump right back. Some days you're at 70, but then you get back into the 50s. There's not that consistency, and most importantly for me on MBE, there isn't the daily confidence, the consistency, and knowing what I'm doing, knowing how I'm reading the questions. And that's where we need to kind of get back to. So in order to know where we're going, you kind of have to know where you've been. So are your outlines too long? Are you reading too much? Are you watching too much? Are you trying to keep up with your idiot friend who's texting you at 8 o'clock at night telling you how great they're doing? By the way, just a quick aside, when your idiot friend texts you at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, just did a 25 question set, 82%, exclamation point, they're lying to you, okay? Always invert the number of what they say they're doing. So when they say they're at 82%, they're really at 28%. And they're doing worse than you, but they're so insecure, they want to know how you're doing. And so they always flip it around. You put the blinders on and you focus on yourself. When the day comes for the exam, you're the only one sitting at your desk. You're the only one that matters. Don't succumb to that peer pressure that so many people do during bar prep. Even if you have great friends and your study group people are been with you for 3 years, you know how you learn at this point. And so you really kind of almost want to get back to basics of back to first year, what made me successful, or at least allow me to get through school. Are you an outline maker? Are you a note card maker? Are you a morning or evening person? Sometimes during bar prep, we succumb to what everyone else is telling us. And since now, especially online, there's so much information out there, everyone allegedly has an opinion, and you kind of become too vulnerable to doing 14 different things. Get back to basics. That's what this is about today, to kind of bring you back to your own individual strengths, which you want to stick to, and avoid your weaknesses. So be honest with yourself. That's one of my many mantras for MBE prep. Got to be honest with yourself. Do you know the rule? Are you reading the question the right way? Only you, when you look yourself in the mirror, know that. So don't listen to what everyone else is telling you. Only take in what everyone else is telling you to see if it can improve your own individual success. What does that mean? Well, what's the MBE really about? The MBE is 50% black letter law and 50% reading comprehension. That's really, when you get through all the stuff, that's really what we're talking about. Rules and how you read the question, i.e., why am I picking A versus B? 50% and 50%. Most students, everything I say, of course, is a generalization, but most students either know too much law and they're doing poorly with the reading, or they don't know enough law and they're focusing too much on the reading. We're looking for the balance between the two. That's the focus of every single question. Don't overemphasize minutia. Don't try to look for the tricks. Focus on the basics for both. So let's talk about the law first. The MBE, the rules. themselves. Are you trying to put too much law in your head? Have you gotten into that other bad habit during bar prep where you become a stenographer? Meaning you're watching 10 hours of lecture, you're reading 100-page outlines, and you're just copying every word that's said or is in another book. Now your own outline is 50 pages. The note card people, you forgot the idea of a flashcard. The back of the flashcard is supposed to have a one-line definition, not be written in pencil and microscopic print with all the yellow highlighted markers and charts and graphs. That basically defeats the purpose of a flashcard. Now it's just an outline, and you have all the examples written down there. Some of you, when you miss practice questions, you take all the minutia from the explanations and you put that into the outline. You basically just have writer's cramp from writing all day long. What's the problem? What is the MBE testing you on in terms of the law? The one-line, black letter definitions of law. That's what the large majority of the questions are on. Yes, there's some questions testing you on a weird minutia little exception. Yes, there is. There's going to be 40, 50 questions that nobody in the country will know. When you take practice tests, there's going to be a lot of weird questions. That's true. But whether it's a practice test, a simulated test, diagnostic, whatever the heck you call it in June and early July, on the bar, there will be some. Right here on AdaptiBar, the best questions you could practice on. I've been staring at these questions for almost 20 years. There's a handful of questions I still don't understand and I disagree with, but not nearly enough to make someone fail. And that's the difference. The large majority of the questions on the actual MBE are testing you on one-line elemental rules. That's what they can expect the entire country to know, period. That's what you may not know enough of as I'm talking right now, because you may be putting too much information, too many examples, too many of the nuances, too many of the things the book said, but not be able to recite the law. And that's how you know that you know the law. Can you speak it? Can you recite it? If you're staring at a 30-page outline every day and you're sitting on your couch exhausted because you're going, I know this, I know this, I know this, a lot of repeat takers have that problem because they literally have, unfortunately, been staring at the same book or outline or set of note cards for a long time. So when you stare at it, it's ridiculous because you say to yourself, I know this. Now let me pull it out of your hand and now speak to me. Tell me the rule. Can you recite the elemental rules? So a lot of people at this stage of bar prep have what? Too overwhelmed with material, too overwhelmed with stuff. You're watching too much, you're writing too much, and you're losing the focus of the black letter law. If you feel that's you, if you're preparing for a practice test and you feel like you've just got 150 or 200 pages of stuff, get back to basics. And what are the basics for the law part of the MBE? The rules, the one-line elemental definitions. They're not testing you on all the weird stuff. What's my proof of that? That when you take any sort of practice test and you're honest with yourself and you go back and review the correct answer to most of these questions, most of the questions are just based on the one-line definition. Sure, there are exceptions. Sure, there are defenses. I'm going to talk about that later. But my point is the core basic material that you're being tested on is not the weird stuff. Get back to basics. Does that mean there's still going to be information you won't know? Yeah. Are you still going to forget some of those rules? Yeah. But remember, you just want to pass, not get every question right. And if you're just getting one or two more questions correct because you actually remember the difference between IIED and NIED, or character and impeachment, or equal protection and due process, etc., if you just got one more question correct based on law, elements, you actually remember which buzzword goes with which definition. That's 7 more questions right there, and I'm being ultra conservative, okay? 7 more raw points is even more scaled, and all of a sudden you're pretty darn close to passing already just from knowing one. For many of you in a lot of subjects, it could be a lot more. Get back to basics now. It's not about this, it's about this. Every one of these subjects has the proverbial 25, 30 or more rules, elements. How do you know that you know it? Can you speak it? Recite. Get back and review your outline and focus and highlight on those one-line elemental definitions, and then begin to speak. Prepare for the practice test by not reading, by reciting. So when you're sitting taking the practice test and you don't have your outline there, and you're looking at answer choices A and B, and one says imminent and one says extreme and outrageous, do you remember which buzzword goes with which tort? Elements, that's what this test is really testing you on. If you just improved a little bit on that, your overall score jumps immediately. Black letter, one-line law. Now during the middle of the summer is the time to catch yourself. So then during the second half of bar prep, you can focus even more on practice questions. You can't do these questions consistently well enough if you don't have enough of the rules at the tip of your tongue that you're reciting and therefore applying when you read. Remember, you can't pass the bar in the middle of the summer. You can't fail the bar in the middle of the summer. To me, the first half of bar prep should be the learning and the ability to retain more law and some practice, so that the second half of bar prep, after the practice test, and you kind of see where you're at, regroup a little bit, then you can practice as many questions as you want every day, and you'll have greater success because you know more black letter law. Also, it's 2 for 1, in my opinion. I'm not supposed to talk about essay, but just because I do think there's some overlap there, the better you know the black letter law for the MBE subjects, the better you're going to do on your essay. Because the number one problem most students have on essay writing, whether you're in a state-specific state, if you're taking the UBE, even more so. If you're taking the MEE, then every rule you know for the multi-state subjects are rules you could write on any of those essays, because there are no differences. I'm in Florida. Here we have Florida-specific essay, but for tort and contract and property and a number of the MBE subjects, even if you had to have a state-specific essay, 80% of the law you'd be writing is the basic same, formation's formation, negligence is negligence. Sure, there's extra Florida law in some of your other states out there that are state-specific. You have those specific rules to know, sure, but the large majority of the content is the same. And so to me, the people who are struggling with the writing portion, the essay portion, one of their big problems is the same on MBE. They don't have enough of those rules at the tip of their tongue. And that's because you're overwhelmed with too much information and you're reading too much as opposed to memorizing and retaining what you can. 4, 5, 8, 10% additional to what you have now will turn into tons of points, both on MBE and on your practice essay writing. So for now, at this stage, what should you do? Get back to basics with the rules. Go back over those first 7 subjects, get more comfortable with more law, get in the practice of reciting. You do a review sitting at your desk, then as soon as you feel better about tort or crim law, you get up and you go to the kitchen to get a drink, breakfast, lunch, dinner. You're taking a jog, you take a walk. No, I don't do that anymore, John. I'm still in my same pair of sweatpants in my bedroom that I haven't taken a shower in the last couple of weeks, and I'm eating a bad piece of lettuce with my cold pizza. Don't do that either. Get up, get out of the house, take a walk, go for a run, feel better about yourself. To perform well under pressure, you need both emotional, physical, psychological, all that stuff. It's all very important. Don't burn out before you get to the test. A lot of problems a lot of students had last fall because of COVID was people just burnt out with all the delays, and it's just too difficult. So take care of yourself, eat well, get your rest, etc. This is the time to kind of get yourself ready for the second half of bar prep so you can practice efficiently. That only comes if you're taking care of yourself. So whatever you're doing during the day, when you're not officially studying, you could be reciting black letter law, going for a walk, you go to do some errands in the car, you're watching TV show goes to a commercial, keep reciting a couple of rules, 2 or 3 here, 1 or 2 there, 3 or 4 there. It adds up over and over again. The only way you can keep 7 subjects of law in your head simultaneously, which is what you need to do for the MBE, is from constant repetition, so that more and more of these rules become part of your vocabulary. That's what we're talking about. They all can't be part, but that's what you want to focus on. Make more law part of your vocabulary. You have more confidence. You wean off of the note cards and the outlines. Now, when I sit down and do some practice questions, I'm more confident that I know what rule goes with which question. So when you're taking your practice test, you're that much more confident. You know what you're doing. You're more aggressive with what answer you're going to choose. And then when you make a mistake, something's going to slip out. And then it's easier to spot the rules that just slipped out, and it's easier to put them back in. Get back to basics with the black letter definition, not the minutia and all the other stuff. That's what those questions are testing you on. Reading comprehension. I said the MBE is also 50% reading comp. Are you doing too many questions too late at night or too early in the morning? Are you doing too many questions just to keep up with the assignments and your checks, the checking boxes, etc. every day? Are you being too obedient just to do what you're told to do, but you don't really know what you're doing? Have you gotten back into old bad reading habits, reading too quick, focusing on what you think is the best answer? Are you making some of those common mistakes? And bluntly, are you just glazing out? Are you trying to memorize hypos? You're losing quality reading comprehension skill. What do I recommend you do? Again, you go back to basics. What are some basics for quality multiple choice? Number one, slow down. Don't worry about timing. At this stage, you want to focus on what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? If you're just doing questions, especially if you have a bad set of questions, what's the first instinct that everybody does? Let me do more. You become like the bad gambler at the casino. Already down a couple of thousand? Hit me again. Hit me again. I did another 20. I'll do another 5. I'll do another 15. Your numbers just keeps going down and down and down. You don't want to go to sleep until you see the number go up, but when you do a question on AdaptiBar, there's that little pause. Please be green, please be green. And when you see red, there's that crushing feeling, right? So let me do another 10. But you're only really chasing your tail because you're chasing the percentage. And it's not going to go up because you're thinking too much and there's too much tension and too much pressure. You're over analyzing. Sometimes your number will go up because you'll recognize a bunch of hypos. And now look at me, I'm at 68%. I think I'm getting it now. But that's not really what's happening. You're fooling yourself. The number's going to go right back down. So what do I recommend you do at this stage? Be honest with yourself. Number one, focus on quality of questions, not quantity. Of course, the idea is to do as many as you can every day, of course. But at 9 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning, whenever you're doing your questions, and you shouldn't be doing them at 9 and you shouldn't be doing them at 7, you should be doing it at a time where you can think straight, be lucid and rational. Don't have any other time and that's when you need to do them, then focus on the quality of the question. What do I mean by that? Am I reading each question slowly? Am I focusing on the facts? Do I know why I'm picking A? Am I just getting it down to A and B and guessing? That's a problem. There are ways to know how to read these questions and you want to follow a consistent approach. Slow down. Focus on what the question is about. Have an idea in your head. Why am I picking A? Why are the other ones wrong? Be more analytical about each question. Am I answering the question presented? If they're asking me about burglary, don't talk about larceny. You're asking me about murder, don't make an argument about manslaughter. Get back to basics. When you do too many questions too quick, you start going back to law school where you make arguments in your head rather than answering the question presented to you. What else happens at this time during bar prep? You really begin to believe that myth out there that everyone believes, which is the questions are designed to trick you. I think I'm getting tricked, John. See, I knew the answer was A, but I picked C anyway because I think I'm getting tricked. Here's my mantra. You're not getting tricked. They're not trying to trick you. They know you will trick yourself. That's the ultimate flip you want to make at this stage of the summer, going in now to your last several weeks of prep for the bar. They're not tricking me. They know that's what I'm going to do because I'm over-analyzing. I'm reading too quick. I'm presuming where the answer is going. I'm not slowing down and answering the question specifically. How many times have you looked at a question where you said, I think the answer is A, but C is a weird Latin phrase, so I'm just going to go with the weird Latin phrase because they're trying to trick me. And of course, you're wrong, and the correct answer is A. Always presume they are testing you on the basic rule. Always presume it is the simpler answer. Yeah, sometimes they're going to get you. So what? You're not trying to get 90% right. You're trying to get a little more than where you're at right now. 5%, 10%. That's it. And that's coming from more careful reading comp. You can't do careful reading comp if you're exhausted and one eye is closed at 9 o'clock at night, or you're trying to sneak in questions. Doing too many practice tests. Let me do 50. Let me do 100. Now you're chasing a mythical number. You're not focusing on each question one at a time. So if you're getting ready for a practice test, you're a little tired, take a step back and do smaller sets and be more careful and read slower, focusing on each individual question. Don't worry about time. The focus isn't to be the first one done with the test. The focus is on how many questions can I get right. The people who, God forbid, don't pass the MBE didn't pass because they ran out of time generally. They didn't fail because they didn't get the rap question right. They failed because they didn't read enough of the first 80 or 90 questions correctly, and they didn't get enough of the ones that they woulda, coulda, shoulda gotten right. So focus and get back to basics with your reading comp, which is slowing down, being more careful per question, building good habits. So when I do my practice exams a couple of weeks before the test, I'm reading more careful, I'm more efficient on question 1, 11, 21, 31, 41, and that's going to make me more consistent going forward. After you take practice tests, build good daily habits, which is constant repetition of your rules. A little bit of the time goes a long way. Slow reading comprehension. You want to do practice tests, that's great, but do it in fewer questions and build up 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Build momentum, build confidence, and get back to the basics of the 2 fundamentals of quality MBE test taking. Know your black letter law to the best of your ability and focus on quality reading comprehension.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And that kind of brings our webinar to a close. Thank you again for joining us. We hope that this has helped guide your studies in any way. If you still have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm sure Jonathan's there and available to answer. Our support team is always available to answer any questions. That information will be displayed below. You can also always head to adaptbar.com to learn more. And for further guidance from Jonathan himself, feel free to check out our AdaptiBar video lecture series, including our unique standalone video lecture, Mastering the MBE, which will cover more strategies and tactics for approaching these MBE questions. Those video lectures will also be linked below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll hand it back to Jonathan to sign off for us.
I appreciate it, Jacob. So once again, get that chip on your shoulder back in there, the one you had at graduation, right? Cocky and arrogant 3 L's. I say that as a compliment. Get your confidence back, get your mojo back. A couple more rules, follow your reading comp, and as I like to say, slow down, spot the issue, know what answer you're looking for, and when you see the correct answer, what are you supposed to do? Shut up and pick it. Stay confident, stay aggressive, and if you need anything, you reach out to us. Best of luck.